So I do want to provide a video walkthrough on how to find the efficiency insights we talked about in the newsletter and also expand a little bit on some of the common uses I hear from customers that are using their SRO data to really key in on efficiency. So the first place we're going to start here is on the dashboard with the usage and distance widget. What we're going to focus on is this efficiency metric down here at the bottom that shows as a percentage. Essentially, what this is telling you is that 53% of the time, while the skip line system is on, you have paint coming out of the guns. So you can look at this on an entire fleet basis, or if you want to drill down to specific units, you can easily filter by that in the right-hand side here. And you can see our paint truck is only putting paint down 33% of the time that the skip line system is on. So what you can do with this data is really identify the crews that are performing the most efficient and also kind of find out why they are doing so by speaking with them, whether it's the foreman or the superintendent to find out why, but also take what you hear from them and take that to the crews that could be doing more and sharing best practices. That way you can spend more time with paint coming out of the guns because the higher this percentage is, that means the more time you spend painting and the more time you spend painting, you're ultimately making more money. All right, switching gears to more of a material efficiency focus, we're going to look at QA thresholds. Now, QA thresholds are the key to unlocking efficiency and quality visuals in Skyview when looking at the performance layer. You can do this for all trucks here on the options page, or you can build them out and customize them on a per truck basis in the equipment page, and we'll do that in a little bit. But we have some key indicators here of things like material thickness, speed, glass application rates, and temperature to really evaluate in Skyview. The trick to actually getting these to work is very simple. Click the switch right here, it turns blue, and now that one's ready to use. So in this example, we'll use a target of, say, 15 mils, and now we just need to build out our margins of error. So what this says is now anything that is 10% plus or minus 15 mils is going to show up as red. So anything that is really 13 and a half mils or below, and anything that is 16 and a half mils and above is going to show as red on our map. This is just a really good idea to evaluate two things. One, if you're potentially susceptible to any restriping on a job, and two, to find out if you're putting down too much material on a job. If you're just 1 to 2 mils thick on average for the entire job, you could have had a couple extra dollars in material savings there by not going over what was really required of you. Like I said, you can do this on a per truck basis on the equipment page. Also very simple to do and has the same exact format. Just click this little drop down arrow for the truck. You'll see the thresholds button. And again, the same UI will open here. So if this truck has a target of 20 mils, I can change that, hit save. And now this truck is working off a 20 mils material thickness target. It doesn't affect the rest of the trucks. As you can see here, our blanket coverage still is 15 for the rest of our fleet. So now that we've built out our QA thresholds, we're going to want to put those to good use in Skyview. When you're building a layer, you'll come in here and change pattern to performance. And now we can use those QA thresholds that we just set up. So after picking out a job and hitting apply, we'll see the red and green populate here on the map. And now we can start to evaluate how efficient we were, not only with our time, but with our material as well. From a time standpoint, on the job tab, you can see total time versus the painting time. And a huge positive here is that we spent 75% of the time on this job actually painting the roads. Now, from a material efficiency standpoint, we can check our thicknesses on the material tab. It's generally better to be thick than thin, but we're about a mil over our yellow target and just under 2 mils too thick on our white target. So imagine the impact this has to your specific job material cost. And if this is even happening across all jobs you do over the course of your season, the impact could even be amplified from there. Now you can start to evaluate exactly why this is happening. So if you click on a particular segment, your job details will change to that specific segment, and we can start to look at a few other things, but also performance here will show us how we did on those targets. We were about 3 mils too thick on yellow and 3.5 mils too thick on white. Now, is one of the things we can start asking ourselves is this because of the area it was in? We're going into a curve, but also we can ask ourselves, was our speed right where we needed to be? And then we can ask, is this a pattern? So do we struggle with being too thick in other areas that have curves or embankments? Well, let's check on this specific job. Let's find another area. Here we have a winding road. And again, some more red segments in here as well. So if we click on one of these, we can see that we were way too thick on our white. And again, this is something you can start to look at, evaluate, and take to the crews to work with them, and really as a training opportunity to make sure you're not incurring any unnecessary material waste. So the last step in tying everything all together is going to be utilizing our reporting. It's going to be the most holistic view you get of your efficiency data in Spec-Rite Online, and you can do it using both of our reporting formats. If you want this, automated to land in your inbox, you can set up scheduled reports for your efficiency reviews. But then you can also use our one-time reports if you want to do comparisons or really look back at larger data sets. You can do that as well. But none of that is going to matter unless you have the right data included in those reports. And the best way to make sure you have the right data is by using a custom template. And you can name it whatever you want to. I called this the efficiency review, but really your customization comes down to how you want to see those reports formatted. And that's going to be done with your row command here. So if you want to say compare, all trucks to each other or a specific amount of trucks to each other and see their totals and averages, you can leave that on none. You'll get a report that looks very similar to this. So you can see we've compared truck 5 and truck 7. From a time efficiency standpoint, both are doing very well. And even from a material efficiency standpoint, both are right on the nose of what they need to be from a thickness standpoint. So maybe this is a report that you've run and you notice, okay, these are my two best or two of my top performing crews. Let me get with them to find out what they're doing so well and find out their best practices. That way you can share them with any crews that might be struggling from a time or material efficiency standpoint. But if you want to do other comparisons as well, you can compare jobs to each other from a specific truck. You could change this to entry field, leave it on job name, and you'll get something that looks like this. That way you can start looking at each individual job. One thing that should stick out here is that we have a very high material thickness. We have for both yellow and white, and that's reflected by both of our application rates here. So maybe this is just really going to drive home the fact that we're over applying our paint. Um, and there needs to be some adjustments. So you can use this for data to get with the crew and find out what happened there and make sure we're not wasting any materials moving forward. But if you've also noticed that a specific line type gives some trucks problems, you can easily do line type comparisons. If you want to do distance, you can easily do that as well. It's really up to you, and we want to put the ball in your court. That way you have the power to create the reports that are most important to you. Now, if you guys have any questions about extrapolating efficiency data from your Spec-Rite portal, or if you have any suggestions and feedback about things that you think should be added to the portal that would help with evaluating your efficiency, please let us know and do not hesitate to reach out. If you guys have any questions in the meantime, I look forward to hearing from you. And just remember, if you're not Spec-Rite, you're just Spec wrong.